FBI targets Trump voters as domestic terrorists ahead of 2024 election. Well, we can't say we didn't know this was going to happen. We can't say we didn't see this coming. We knew this was happening. They targeted regular parents and called them domestic terrorists because they care about their kids. They target Catholics because of their beliefs. Of course, we knew they were going to come after Trump voters. We're on a list somewhere. They know who we are, and they're coming for us because they are afraid that Trump will come in and win again and shake up the system and get rid of these oligarchs that are running our country. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this disturbing news. Just under a year before the 2024 election, Newsweek's report reveals that the FBI is targeting supporters of former President Donald Trump, who is the leading Republican candidate, and labeling them as domestic terrorists. According to testimony from more than a dozen current or former governmental officials specializing in terrorism, the FBI's decision to include Trump supporters in its expanded definition of domestic extremism has led to an increased focus on them. And so they can't say this is not real. It's more than a dozen FBI former and current agents. So I can see the left wing talking heads and like the women on the View trying to pretend like this isn't real or these whistleblowers can't be believed. Well, over a dozen of them. So these are the same people that are caping for the FBI as well. So you can't just disregard this. But while the federal law enforcement agency has a history of criminalizing opposition to the government, this trend has intensified during President Joe Biden's tenure. FBI data, as reviewed by Newsweek, indicates that a significant portion of their current investigations now revolve around Trump supporters accused of violating, quote, anti-riot laws. Despite the widespread riots encouraged by leftists during the summer of 2020, FBI data show that the main targets of investigations are cases in 2020 and 2021. Investigations and cases in 2020 and 2021 were predominantly Trump supporters rather than those responsible for causing billions of dollars in damage to American cities. In a similar vein, the use of, quote, assessments, a tool employed by the FBI to surveil Americans with unfavorable political ideological associations, more than doubled from 2019 to 2021. This escalation in politically motivated investigations of Trump voters follows a wave of rhetoric from President Joe Biden, his administration, congressional Democrats, Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and other officials who have consistently portrayed so-called domestic extremism associated with Republican voters as the nation's most significant threat. Furthermore, this increase appears to be a continuation of the Biden administration's targeting of his primarily political opponent and his dissenting views in the lead up to the 2020 presidential election. Because they know in a fair fight, they can't win against Trump. They know that the numbers against Biden is horrific. They know that people are actually for Trump. We got even more rappers coming out for Trump. One of my favorite rappers, Lil Wayne, dropped a new mixtape where he actually shot out Trump for letting him out of prison. And then we got a new rapper who I'm not really favorable for. I still don't really know how I feel about this endorsement. Her name is Sexy Red. She actually talks about how she's for Trump now, too. So more and more people are coming out the woodworks for Trump. And the majority of Americans now perceive the administration's misconduct as evidence of a two-tier justice system in the United States. After a year marked by false accusations and dubious felony indictments, more than half the nation believes that the enforcement apparatus aligned with the left should face consequences for using its authority to advance political objectives. While the FBI denies targeting individuals based on ideology, it expanded its quote anti government or anti authority violent extremists other, they call it agave or agave, a clarification shortly after the events of January 6, 2021. This change allowed the agency to initiate investigations into Americans based on their political affiliations. Remember, this is supposed to be protected, though. This is supposed to be protected. But that's why another reason why I think the FBI was behind the January 6th stuff. But this shift garnered little attention and emboldened the FBI to introduce a new terrorism category, Agave Other, in October 2022, focused on monitoring anyone the agency considered an anti-government domestic violent extremist with potentially adverse political associations. Although Trump and his famous slogan, Make America Great Again, were not officially classified in this category on paper or in the FBI's joint report to Congress, Newsweek pointed out that, quote, government insiders acknowledge that it applies to political violence attributed to the former president's supporters. An unnamed senior intelligence officer shared with Newsweek his belief that, quote, Trump's army constitutes the greatest domestic political threat of violence, highlighting the severity of the situation. Before the November 2022 midterms, President Biden sought to demonize MAGA Republicans, accusing them of, quote, posing a great threat to the very soul of this country. And this rhetoric provided further confirmation to his allies at the Department of Justice and FBI to continue pursuing political adversaries. Under Biden's leadership, the FBI initiated actions against concerned parents, conducted a raid on a pastor's residence, failed to safeguard Republican-nominated Supreme Court justices from coordinated influence campaigns aiming to undermine the Dobbs versus Jackson ruling, and attempted to penalize Republican-led states for their efforts to protect children, including the unborn. And this is all under Biden's leadership. It's disgusting. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.